Hey guys, it's JJ. Welcome back to the Maui Surfers Dynasty, where we are gonna get into the off season today. We finished out the season 4-8, 3-5 in conference. So not the greatest start to the franchise, but we're gonna start this off season off with a couple of coordinator firings. We're gonna get rid of Ryan Jackson and Pete Jefferson. I want some coordinators with better suited pipelines, and yeah, also the schemes are not exactly matching up, so we'll see what we can do on that front. This is conference week, so we can't do anything about it right now, but we're gonna sim ahead. This is Heisman winning quarterback Cameron Rising out of Utah University, and he had 41 touchdowns, 4 picks. Player of the year is going to be Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. I hope he will be as good in real life as he was this season. I guess we have the best head coach being from Miami. Shedeur Sanders wins best quarterback of the year, which is kind of obvious if you're the best player of the year. Bunch of players. We have Nick Candelaria being second as best defensive back. Then we have the best running back is Damian Martinez from Miami. We have Tedairoya McMillan from Arizona be the best receiver. We have a bunch of other awards where the Surfers are not really represented. It's not that important to talk about it. I just wanted to show you. But we did have a couple players make it onto those lists, like Weldon Owens here. He is the second best linebacker apparently in the league. He is a senior, so this was his last season. He's going to be gone. And then we have no kicker here, and also no punter. And despite Richard Evans having a punt return touchdown, no, I think it was a kick return touchdown, he will not be represented here. We do have a couple All-Americans. We have a first-team All-American right tackle in Thomas Williams. He's a sophomore, and he probably will get even better in the offseason. And nobody else on the first team, I guess, but we have a second team All-American too. We have no receivers, despite Royal Gray having a pretty good season. But it is... Actually, maybe I misremembered that. We did not have a second team All-American, so I'm guessing it was probably a freshman All-American on the national team. Probably a couple there. But let's move on. Oh yeah, Royal Gray here. And Emmanuel Duffield, not our top 2 receiving targets, but Royal Gray was the #1 receiving target, and Duffield, he had a few games where he had a really good matchup, and we absolutely abused it. So that was great. Those 2 are both freshmen. And then we had a safety in Daniel Madrid. Don't know what he did to deserve this honor, but for some reason he's on this list. And then we'll jump into the Mountain West Conference All-Americans now. First teams, we have actually quite a few. But Boise State's occupying all the top spots here for quarterback, running back, and receiver. We have the tight end, Emmanuel Duffield. We have both tackles, Melvin Moreno and Thomas Williams, and also the center, Justin Duncan. And then we also have an edge rusher in Jerry Davis on this list. We've got a linebacker, a do-it-all linebacker that is a senior, so he is also going to be gone. And then Sergio Gonzalez as a corner. He did not do much though, so last season, so it wasn't really like he had a bunch of picks or something. And then for the second team, there might have been a linebacker or something. No, apparently not. Nobody on the second team. And last thing to check out is the Mountain West Conference. conference. Freshmen All-Americans, and we have a bunch of those as well. Will Whitehurst as a running back, Royal Gray as a receiver, Manuel Duffield as a tight end. We've got a right tackle that didn't even play that much. For some reason makes this list. We have a defensive tackle and one more who makes this list. Don't understand that one either. Didn't have a bunch of sacks or anything. Cole Miller as a linebacker. Did not play a whole lot either. And then corner and 2 safeties and a punter. So a bunch of freshmen here making this list. We'll see how these players are going to fare next year. Conference championships. Nevada loses 31-21 against Boise State. That team is ranked, by the way. As California loses against Arizona. So those are the 2 that are most interesting for us. And in the Pac-12, the losing team is Washington State. So the relegation will be Boise State will move up to the Pac-12 and Washington State will be moved down to the Mountain West Conference. Now we are at early signing day. We have Fidu Luwani, normal dev. Bukele has impact dev. Jason Riggins, an athlete. He has normal dev. We have Jarrod Wentz at normal dev. And then we have a few receiver. Impact dev for our 4-star receiver. So that's kind of a little bit disappointing. Kerry Lowell has normal dev. DeAndre Vick has normal dev. Johnny Feely has star dev. So we have a 3-star receiver that's star dev. We have an impact dev tight end. We've got normal dev for Spriggs. And then a bunch of O-linemen that we didn't get. And we also missed out in while simming that week on Parker Gillette. Frank Banks has impact dev. And we have Sione Folau at impact dev. Kareem Cleveland is normal dev, even though I had very high hopes for him. David Toth has impact, and then a few safeties. Mitch Hendricks, the only elite dev player we have gotten so far, but the battles are not over yet. So this stuff will still continue into the off season here. Now let's get back to the coaches. We have a head coach from Hawaii who has pipeline Hawaii. So I'm like, yeah, let's make it happen. He has a run and shoot offensive scheme, which is not really what I'm looking for, but for now I guess I'll take the head coach from Hawaii. And then a defensive coordinator, Jeff Patton, with pipeline Northern California. Combined with our head coach that makes the 3 pipelines, we have Northern California, Southern California, and Hawaii. And by the way, Northern California is also Northern California. Base 4-3 is also our scheme defensively. So Jeff Patton is going to be here for the long run, I'd say. And we also get both of those. Nobody else was really that interested in having these 2 players here, or coaches here. So we get both of those, and then let's look at the college football playoff. I simmed ahead all the weeks, and the winner is Ohio State, who was absolutely beating up Texas A&M in the finale. In the semifinals, it was Utah and Florida getting wiped. And that's kind of a surprise because Florida was actually the favorite to win and go on. But they lost against Texas A&M. And then in the quarterfinals, the 4 teams that were qualified for the quarterfinals were Miami, Florida, Boise State, and Texas State. Boise State got eliminated. The only Mountain West Conference team, by the way, got eliminated by Texas A&M. So one and done. Now let's look at the season stats. Individually, we have Angel Crawford, 19 touchdowns, 8 picks. So not the greatest season ever, but he made it over 3,000 yards. And I think that Crawford actually played a solid season. He is a senior though, so we're not going to see him again. Douglas Perez, he is a sophomore who had the best season as a running back, 4.2 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. We had Whitehurst, 162 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then Glenn Lowe, our power back, he had 7 carries for 9 yards and 5 touchdowns. So, crazy things here. And, yeah, that guy looks unbelievable, to be honest. And then we have a Royal Grey, 988 yards. That kid is a freshman. 8 touchdowns on the season. We had Manuel Duffield. He actually was the number 2 receiver. I thought it was Shannon. But 654 yards, 7 touchdowns for Duffield. And Shannon, 489 with 3 touchdowns. But that kid had a bunch of drops, gotta say. Douglas Perez also had a lot of catches, 47. That's third most on the team, 440 yards. Combined with his rushing stats, that's 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Birch, 332, 1 touchdown. Ramirez, 186 for no touchdowns. And a bunch of other receivers that didn't really matter. John Richardson, 115 tackles. Nick Candelaria, he had 77 tackles. So people were flying all over the field. Greg Woods was a linebacker as well that didn't really have any impacts. He didn't have a whole bunch of TFLs. He also didn't have sacks or interceptions. So Greg Woods, nothing special. Weldon Owens had the most TFLs and also the most sacks, 10.5. 7.5 for Jerry Davis. And we also have Daniel Garcia for 5.5 sacks. And then a bunch more players that didn't really do too much. Daniel Field and Daniel Mitchell on the list as well, 2.5 sacks. Candelaria had 1.5 sacks as a corner. We had another DB with a sack in Daniel Madrid. And then 4 picks. Nick Candelaria has 4 interceptions. John Richardson has 3 interceptions. Daniel Mitchell has 2. Richard Evans had 2. He's a senior, so he's going to be gone. Weldon Owen had a pick. He's also a senior. And then Terrence Diaz, who was a Mountain West Conference freshman All-American. And then 4 fumbles. It's just a few players. Doesn't really matter too much. 4 kick-in. We had a 36 for 36 on extra points and 17 for 20 on field goals kicker. We also have a punter with a 42.6 yard per punt average, so that's pretty good. And kick returns, we had Richard Evans with 1 kick return touchdown and then no punt return touchdowns. That was all Richard Evans by himself, but he did have a couple of nice returns. Mountain West Conference team stats now, and Maui is down the list there. 4,255 yards of offense. That's below average. Passing offense is right down the middle, 3,111. Rushing offense, 1,144, right down the middle as well. Points per game, right down the middle as well, 26.3. Passing touchdowns, 20 for Maui, that is also right down the middle. Rushing touchdowns, also right down the middle, very average. And then for some reason, we have the most first downs out of any team in the Mountain West Conference. I think it's because of the way the air raid works with the dink and dunk and having your way to like get 11 yards on every first down or on every set of downs, I guess. We had a below average defense overall. We had an above average passing defense, a horrible run defense, 1,541 yards allowed there. We had I'd say an average defense. For points allowed, we had the most sacks in the league. I don't know how that happened, but we only had 3 fumbles recovered, which is horrible. And we had 13 picks, so that's great. Second in the Mountain West Conference, only behind Boise State. Then conversions on third down, we were actually pretty good. That's a top 3 result. We had the best fourth down conversion percentage, 79%. That's actually because I went a lot for it on 4th and 1, 4th and 2 stuff. So those are easier to convert than like a 4th and 8 and stuff. And then field goal or red zone efficiency, I guess, is average on offense and average on defense. So there is nothing really to be said about that. Have to have more touchdowns, though. That's not enough. And then for turnovers, we had a positive differential, +6. We had 9 giveaways and 15 takeaways. 9 giveaways is actually pretty good. Even Boise State had more than us. And we only lost 1 fumble on the entire season. But takeaways, we didn't really recover a whole lot of fumbles. So let's go to the players leaving stage. We have a bunch of players leaving. Richmond is one of those players that I redshirted and do not want to retain anyway. That's one of the players from the Cupcake roster that I didn't randomize. Royal Gray, though, sadly, he will be leaving. And then Miller is another player that I wanted to cut or transfer away anyway. Richard Shannon also leaving. So our top 2 receivers are leaving this offseason. We have a tackle here, Daryl Rosenberg. Playing style is an F. Extremely low chance of persuasion, and he will not be persuaded. So he's also going to be leaving. Then we have our middle linebacker, John Richardson, for brand exposure. And we will persuade him. So at least one of those players. And then for some reason, I didn't know there was a cap on having players persuaded to stay. So everybody else will be leaving too. And that includes tight end Manuel Duffield, running back Douglas Perez, a center, a guard. Well, I mean, those are backups now. Thomas Jewell, Robert Van Elstein, George Herbert, and Tim Lewis. Those are all players that are going to be transferring. And then a bunch of players graduating. Nobody that doesn't really matter too much. Kevin Scott as a defensive tackle. He played a lot. We're going to lose Angel Crawford, our quarterback, to graduation. And then the next player that matters is Daniel Mitchell, a linebacker that played pretty well. He had a couple game-sealing picks. And then we have a corner here in Richard Evans, the only player with a return touchdown this season who is leaving. And Weldon Owens as an edge rusher. He's also leaving. 10.5 sacks. That's going to be hard to replace. But we lost a whole bunch of players. And we also didn't have anybody drafted. So it's good that I'm going for a 35-player recruiting class, I guess. But we lost players on both sides of the football that I will be missing. Terry McKinnon out of Ontario, California is a quarterback that is being recruited here. Nate Cherry out of Hawaii, Honolulu. He is coming to Maui. Walter Lennon, a player from California, middle linebacker. He is committing here. And that's a bunch of more recruits. So we have now recruited 3 quarterbacks, Luani, Bukele, and McKinnon. Didn't have scouted any of them, but we have 2 athlete quarterbacks. I hope they can run a little bit. Nate Cherry is an edge rusher that I recruited, and so far the only one. The other one that I was recruiting, Goodspeed, he suddenly decided I can't recruit him anymore because of his deal breaker, but I didn't take him off the board. And then we had a middle linebacker in Walter Lennon, and gonna recruit him. That's our second linebacker then. He's a pass coverage linebacker, and that's something we definitely need over the middle of the field. And then in the next recruiting stage, we got Jimmy Mesa out of Kahuku, Hawaii. So he's going to come to Maui. A 2-star safety. Then we got a 2-star kicker, Scott Henderson out of Honolulu. Mesa is a player I hadn't scouted. He's a 2-star, so he's not going to be great anyway. But I was just like, in the first season, just get players here because I knew that we were going to have a lot of transfers and seniors graduating, so that was something I had to do. And Scott Henderson, don't really think he's going to be anything special, but he's from Hawaii, so it kind of fits this, fits the rebuild, and at least we got a kicker. And then next recruiting stage, we got Jose Mangold out of Green Bay, California. He was the only one that week. Didn't scout him either. He was also a 2-star recruit. And actually, he was the one player that I had gotten an insta commit on when I did my first episode of the season. And then for some reason, the game deleted my progress and I had to redo that. And did not get the insta commit the second time, obviously. Deshaun Butts, we get a tackle. Gerard Pettigrew, we got another tackle. Both of those players were scheduled on visits in week 3 and 4. A fullback in Dante Christmas. We also got the other one. This is the end of recruiting, by the way. Kane Clemens out of Henderson, Nevada, a center. Also had him visit in week 3, I think. And then Donovan Caraway, I think I also had him in week 3 as a recruit, so we get the bonus thingies. Jorge Costa, a linebacker out of Chatsworth, California. He's gonna come here. Alton Irvin, a center. I think I had him. No, I did not have him on a visit. I never got into the top 5 interest stages with him. But we got a bunch of players, and we are now at National Signing Day, where we are gonna take a look at some dev trades. And we have Terry McKinnon here with a normal dev trade. We had also looked already at Luani and Bukele, just like Riggins and Wentz. And then we've got 2 fullbacks in Antoine Blades and Dante Christmas. Blades has normal dev. I did scout him in the end there when I had too many points. And then Dante Christmas has impact dev. So yeah, both of those players, by the way, from Honolulu. So we've got 2 fullbacks from there. And then JJ Easy, we get him. He does not decide to go somewhere else. He still comes here even though our coach prestige and his deal breaker was a D or something. But we do get him. He has impact dev, so we already knew that. Lowell, Vic, and Feely, those 4 receivers we already had at the early signing day stage. And then with a tight end, we also had a center. We also had, but then Kane Clemens is the next really interesting player. That's somebody we got at the last second, and that's a normal dev center here in Kane Clemens. Donovan Caraway has impact dev, and then sadly at the last second we lost out on George Garcia. He's going to TCU, so that's sad. Alton Irvin is a bust center, and he doesn't have anything special for dev trade either. And then Deshaun Butts has impact dev. He is also a gem, just like Frank Banks that we already looked. Pettigrew has normal dev, so that's pretty good. Nate Goodspeed, we do get him, even though we couldn't recruit him anymore. He has normal dev. Nate Cherry has normal dev. Sione Folau has impact dev. Kareem Cleveland has normal dev. And then we've got a few linebackers here in Jorge Costa, who has normal dev. David Toth, who has impact. Walter Lennon, somebody that we just got at the end of free agency, I guess. Normal dev. Nothing special at linebacker. Nate Manu Maleuna as a safety. 3-star safety from Honolulu has normal dev. Jimmy Mesa out of Kahuku, Hawaii. Normal. Then Mitch Hendricks. He is the one with elite dev. Jose Mangold has star dev as a 2-star player. Don't know where that's gonna go, but we'll see. Scott Henderson, normal dev. A punter in Daniel Stevens has impact dev. I couldn't recruit him anymore, so I put a second punter on the board who also has impact dev in Lewis Hands. So that's our, I think, a 34-player draft class. And we had the best recruiting class in the entire Mountain West Conference. 39 on the big board, but this is the best recruiting class in the entire Mountain West Conference. We also were the only program to get 2 4-star player or any 4-star players at all. We also had 21 3-stars. So there's a bunch of players to recruit, all those people leaving in the transfer portals and stuff. Position changes, we had 4 athletes. We had a quarterback that went to quarterback. We have a center here in Alton Irvin that is actually a pretty not great center. He's a 60 overall center. And his pass blocking ratings are pretty awful, and even his run blocking is not very good. But he also has 78 tackling, 67 hit power, 67 block shed, 81 finesse moves, 62 power moves, 79 pursuits. So with 81 finesse moves, the move was pretty obvious. 6'2", 294, this guy's a defensive tackle. No doubt about it. He's also a whopping 7 overall better at defensive tackle, so we're going to move him there. We also have a running back, Jason Riggins. He is 5'11", 232. 87 speed is not going to make the difference as a running back, honestly, but he is a power back, so 87 speed is not horrible, I'm guessing. But we're just going to take a quick look because I also found a couple other positions that he might be valuable for. He is a not great running back. I don't know. It's just 79 trucking is his best trait. Well, I mean, I guess 82 carrying is also a good trait, but it's not like he's going to be anything special as a running back right now. He has 69 tackling. He has 65 hit power, 63 block shed, 70 finesse moves, 64 power moves, and 79 pursuit, along with not so great coverage ratings. I didn't really know what to do, and just looking at the overalls, and also the speed, I decided he is probably not a real running back. He's a 60 overall running back, but there is a chance to put him at 67 overall as a linebacker or a 66 as an edge rusher. So I decided that is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put him at linebacker, and he's gonna play some run stopper and maybe some pass rushing or like blitzing and stuff, because 87 speed is good at linebacker, but it's not good at running back. So that's where I put the athleticism then. And then we got a bunch of points to put into our coach. So far, I have only expanded the recruiting tree, and we're gonna finish out the O-line thingy there and then go to the DBs. I was already done with wide receiver and defensive line. We're gonna put everything in quarterback as well, get all those recruiting hours for quarterbacks, and then put a bunch in linebacker to get a bunch of those players as well. And there were still points left after that, so I just put them into running back as well. And it's almost enough to get the full slate. But yeah, we will obviously put the last 5 points into running back when we get them. And we're going to have a look at the training results now. Obviously, Marlowe is one of those players that I'm going to cut. He didn't play last season, and I will cut him. Edward Hirsch is now our top running back. He didn't really get a whole lot of better. He was a 70-something overall last season as well. We lost Douglas Perez, so our best running back is now Will Whitehurst. He does look pretty solid. And then we had a couple of receivers go up. I wanted to cut them. Those were still from the Cupcake roster, but I couldn't cut them in the end. Spoiler alert here. But yeah, so those people are still on the roster. We have a couple tight ends, nothing special here. Melvin Moreno goes up by a bunch, so we are gonna have a great left tackle. He looks really good. Our guard went up by a lot as well. Justin Duncan, our center, shot up there, so we have some great line improvements. Right guard did not go up that much. So yeah. And then Thomas Williams at right tackle. He's a 92 overall. which did go up by a little bit as well. And then we have a left end here in Daniel Field. So still a Daniel on the team, even though we lost Daniel Mitchell. And Daniel Garcia is also still on the team. He is an 80 overall now, so he went up by a little bit. Juan Moore also went up a little bit, and Kenneth Phelps as well. Dennis Osorio is going to be our new left outside linebacker. John Richardson, the only player we could persuade to stay. He's still going to be on the team. He's going to be a senior, so he's going to be leaving next year anyway. And a couple of more seniors at right outside linebacker. Greg Woods was playing last year a lot, and his overall didn't change at all. He is just still an 80 overall, and he didn't make a difference last year with those ratings, so why would he this year? Our corners: Nick Candelaria, Sergio Gonzalez, DB Steele, and Jason Miller. All of those went up by a bunch. Well, I mean, I guess apart from Miller. And then Terrence Diaz is going to be our starting safety. And then Daniel Madrid is going to be our starting strong safety. He also went up by a little bit, so I expect good things from him. That also makes me feel good about redshirting Mitch Hendricks this year to maybe get another year out of him. Now we are going to get to conference realignments, but of course, if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications as we move on to season 2 shortly. I did do a conference realignment for the Mountain West. First of all, I did a split into a North and a South division, and then I moved down Washington State from the Pac-12, and I moved up Boise State. And then I added 2 new teams. One of those teams is BYU, and then I also moved over the New Mexico State Aggies. So we have 2 new teams that also fit the scheme, kind of. So we have a New Mexico rivalry game every year, and all the Utah teams are now in the Mountain West. And then for the Pac-12, I just did a North and South split as well, and we have Boise State as the new team there. We have the California teams in the South, and the 2 Arizona teams, and then all the other teams. 2 Oregon teams, and well, the other Washington team is not down there, but Utah and Colorado. Boise State up there in the north as well. And now we're gonna check out the roster. Off season's over. This is just an overview of what to expect this year. Edward Hirsch is our quarterback, 84 medium accuracy, and something similar in short and deep as well. 91 throw power, nothing special, and he is not really a runner. He can run a little bit, but his play extension is not nearly on the level of Crawford's. Garrison Bukele, our 3-star quarterback out of Folsom, California, and he is going to be redshirted this year. 91 throw power, so that's okay, I guess. He was an athlete, so he has a little bit of scrambling ability here, but his accuracies are pretty awful. 79 short, 76 medium, 66 deep. And then for quickness, 84 speed, that should be able to run a little bit, but he is nowhere near ready to start this year. Terry McKinnon is the other athlete quarterback we had. 3-star player, 6'2", 206 out of Ontario, California. He has 85 throw power, so that's nothing special at all. That deep ball is not going to be great. He's also, like, he's an athlete, but he doesn't really look like an athlete to me. You'll see his quickness ratings in a second, but he's also like 81 short throw accuracy, 76 medium, 67 deep. That is not playable at the moment. And then he also has only 76 speed. That is so slow as an athlete. Our top running back is going to be Will Whitehurst. We sadly lost Douglas Perez. He is a receiving back archetype. His hands are okay, not great. He does have decent elusiveness, and his power ratings are pretty horrible, so we're gonna try to juke and spin some people this year. 92 speed, however, is pretty good. And then our second running back is gonna be Jameel Morris, also receiving back out of Washington, D.C. He is well. I mean, his hands and route running ability is solid, I guess. So that's not too bad. And he has good elusiveness, not a great power back, and 87 speed, so nothing special here either. Our top receiver, and this is where I decided to deviate. I wanted to cut our 2 top receivers from last year. I redshirted them so they wouldn't play, but I couldn't cut them this year, and I decided I lost enough players with the transfers that I will now play them, and I renamed them. Everything else was already randomized from the cupcake roster, and this kid is going to be elite. This kid is going to be so good. He also won a bunch of overall points in training, and he has 98 speed. He's a great route runner. His hands are awesome. And the other receiver that's going to be new is going to be George Smith, 4-star recruit out of El Paso, Texas, who is a solid route runner, has really good hands. He's actually a really good route runner, actually, when I look at it. And he also knows how to evade some tacklers if he needs to. And he has 92 speed, which is also going to be pretty good. So we have 2 new top receivers. Our third guy, like last year, is going to be Hakeem Birch, 6'6", 216, out of West Lynn, Oregon. And he has a decent release package, I guess, but he's not the greatest route runner. He has good hands, though, even though it didn't really show up last year, but he does have good hands and should be recognized in this league. He also went up by a bunch in overall this offseason, so hopes are up for him as well. And then we have 88 speed here, which is not great, but at 6'6", I think I'm fine with that. Terry Carter is our 4th receiver. He went up a little bit in overall as well, out of Anchorage, Alaska. He's a 3-star player, and he is a really good route runner, like really good. 92 short and 96 medium. Great slot receiver. His hands are lagging behind. He does have really good elusiveness, though, so I'm expecting him to, like, if he's on the field, he should be able to evade some tacklers, and not a great power back, I guess. With 92 speed to finish it out, that's a solid 4th receiver, I think. Roger Ramirez, he was the 4th receiver last year, but he didn't develop in the offseason. So he stays down at the bottom of the roster. He had a chance to develop up. He is an okay route runner, good hands, and pretty slow as a receiver. So nothing special here. Is able to break a tackle here and there or stuff, but don't expect too much from Ramirez. 87 speed is also not great. And then JJ Easy is going to be redshirted, the 4-star receiver, 6'2", 204 out of Hanford, California. He will be redshirted, which is a bummer, but I don't think his ratings are ready to play. His route runnings are pretty awful. 67 deep and 69 medium or something. Even his catching ratings. His catching is 78 and catch and traffic 82. For a 4-star receiver, I had expected a little bit more, but he will be riding the bench, be redshirted in the first season, and then next season we'll break him out. 91 speed as well, so this kid looks pretty solid for the future, but not right now. Our top tight end is Brandon Bowers, a blocking tight end with no speed at all. He is nothing special, and I won't play him as our top tight end either. He also won't improve a whole lot. 72 speed is just not enough. Our starting tight end is going to be Greg McHugh, a vertical threat receiver that is also not going to improve a whole lot, but at least his catching ratings are really good. 83 catching, 86 back catch, and 84 catch traffic or something. And the more important thing is he has 85 speed, so that kid at least can run. And then we have Sony Bandy, a tight end that I recruited. He's going to be redshirted out of Fresno, California. He is a solid, well, he can't even improve a little bit. 80 catching, 81 catch and traffic. I don't think he's the future. His caps are really restrictive. That's something I forgot to mention about JJ Easy. His caps are so good. He can improve so much. So that's really good. Not for Sony Bandy though. Our left tackle, Melvin Moreno, went up a bunch in training. And he is basically limitless. He basically has no caps at all. And he is such a good pass protector. It's ridiculous. He is the perfect player to be playing in an air raid system. He also has, I think, 92 strength. Not great in run blocking, but it does not matter. Deshaun Butts is a tackle that I recruited. He was a JUCO, a sophomore player. He is the 69 overall right off the bat, which is not horrible. And his caps are already like not that bad. He is, however, very raw. His run blocking is pretty awful, and his pass blocking is even worse. So there's a lot of work to be done, but he can improve, and I'm sure he will. Chad Kinsey is our left guard. He is a 6'5", 306 player with really good pass block ratings. He also went up a little bit in training. And he's a really good pass protector. I'm not worried about getting sacked a whole lot this year with this kind of offensive line. He also has 89 strength, which is pretty solid. In college, he's a horrible run blocker, but it does not matter. Craig Spriggs is a 3-star, 6'1", 295 center that I turned into a guard because I had too many centers. He is going to be redshirted this year, and I will put I'll put Kinsey out there definitely. His run blocking is pretty awful, and his pass blocking is even worse. So I'm not hopeful about this guy. 58 pass block power. That's not gonna get a whole lot better. You're not never getting in the 90s with those ratings. Justin Duncan, our center, he also went up in training by a bunch, and his pass block is really good. Run blocking, not so much, but that's kind of the theme. Actually, this is the one guy that has good run blocking, I think. Most of our original Cupcake roster players had really bad run blocking, but this guy's a really good run blocker. The one guy on the roster. Kane Clemens is a center. Out of Henderson, Nevada. He's going to be redshirted as well. And the good thing about him is he's already a solid pass protector. His run blocking is really awful, but I am actually pretty happy with him. The 78 strength is not really great, but at least he can improve it a little bit. So I guess there's that. But his run blocking is awful. Wayne Brown, our right guard, he was the one guy along the O-line that didn't really go up in overall. He's going to be really bad. He's also more of a run blocker than a pass protector here at right guard. But at least he has 90 strength, so at least he's a good athlete. And his run blocking is pretty solid. His pass blocking needs a little bit more work, but one weak link along the O-line, I think I'm fine. Donovan Caraway with... 6'2", 218, he's a 3-star recruit. I'm gonna redshirt him, and he is a pretty mediocre player. His run blocking and pass blocking are pretty bad right now. At least he's not a horrible athlete, but he's not gonna see the field this year. And then our right tackle, best player on the team, Thomas Williams, has 93 pass block, 89 pass block finesse, and 96 pass block power. 95 strength as well. That tackle is ridiculously good, and his run blocking is kind of down there in the 70s, so not great, but we're gonna pass it a lot this year, I guess. And then his backup is Gerard Pettigrew, 6'6", 299. He's gonna be redshirted. Obviously, he is a pretty bad run blocker. 66 run block is pretty awful. 83 strength is not great, but he has a lot of room to improve that. And his pass blocking is a little bit better, but it's not great either. So he's gonna be on the bench for a while. And then let's go to the defense. We have our top edge rusher here in Daniel Field. Well, not top edge rusher. We have one better guy, but 85 power moves. Looks already great. 84 strength. He's a really good run stopper. So Daniel Field, he went up by a bunch in training. Really excited about him. The only thing that's not good about him is the finesse moves, but fine with that. Really good athlete here. Nate Goodspeed is a player that I recruited, despite him having the wrong deal breaker. He's 6'2", 249 out of Hawaii. 3-star recruit with 80 power moves. Right off the bat, that is actually pretty good. His strength is 86. That is really good. At his size, at 249, 86 block strength is really good. He's not a great run stopper or finesse rusher though. So he's a pure power rusher right now, but he has some room to improve. Jerry Davis is our top edge rusher. And he's going to play a lot. He also went up a bunch in overall. He has 89 power moves now. He has really good strength. So really good run stopper as well. 82 strength is pretty good, yeah, at his size. 83 block shedding, 79 finesse moves, and pretty good get off as well. So that's fascinating. We have two really good edge rushers this year as well. Nate Cherry is the other edge rusher I recruited. He's also from Hawaii. He's a 3-star. And right off the bat, his block shedding is pretty good. Power is also pretty good, but his pass blocking, 66 power moves and 47 finesse moves. That is awful. So that's not great news. Daniel Garcia is going to be our top defensive tackle. And, oh, well, by the way, Nate Cherry is obviously going to be redshirted. I redshirted all the freshmen. There is no redshirt that's going to play this year, or no freshman that's going to play this year. Everybody's going to be redshirted. Daniel Garcia is going to be our top defensive tackle. Didn't really go up a whole lot in overall over the offseason, but he's a really good run stopper. 86 block shedding there, 85 finesse moves, and 78 power moves. Happy with that. Our second defensive tackle is Juan Moore, who did not improve a whole lot this offseason. And he has 76 power moves. He has 62 finesse moves. He's 87 strength, so he's more of an athlete with a little bit of pass rush, but definitely a run blocker. 84 block shedding here. So don't really expect him to make a whole lot of sacks. He did not last year either. Kenneth Phelps is going to be the third defensive tackle. He's a 2-star, and he has 73 power moves. He has 91 strength. That's really good at defensive tackle. He has 79 finesse moves, so he can rush the passer a little bit. 85 block shedding. He's also a run stopper, and then really not a great mover. Kareem Cleveland is going to be redshirted. He is the best defensive tackle that I recruited. He has 79 finesse moves, 61 power moves, and he is actually not a bad athlete. 86 strength is pretty good, and then his run stopping needs a bunch of work. 64 block shedding is not going to cut it for day one. But he's going to be redshirted, and maybe next year his run stopping is a little bit better. He has some room to improve there as well. Linebackers, we have Dennis Osorio. He did not improve a whole lot over the offseason, and we lost a couple of linebackers there as well, namely Daniel Mitchell and Weldon Owens. But Dennis Osorio is going to be pretty mediocre all across the board, except for his athleticism. He's a pretty good athlete. And then we have Jason Riggins. He is a 68 overall linebacker, 3-star recruit, 5'11", 233. For some reasons, we have this ratings bug here. So we're going to have to look at his ratings manually. 87 speed, 88 acceleration, 85 strength, and then 69 tackling, 65 head power, 65 block shedding, 64 power moves, 72 finesse moves, 81 pursuit, and the coverage ratings already getting a boost from our defensive coordinator. He also can catch the football a little bit. John Richardson is going to be the middle linebacker. Oh, by the way, Jason Riggins is obviously also going to be redshirted. And we'll see him next year. John Richardson is our middle linebacker. He did go up a little bit in overall. Not much, but like 3 or 4 points, I think. And he is going to be the middle linebacker this year again. He had a couple picks last year, and he has pretty good athleticism. So I expect him to do pretty much the same thing as last year. He also was our leader for tackles. Backup is going to be Jorge Costa. He's also going to be redshirted out of Chatsworth, California. Not the greatest run stopper you'll ever see right off the bat, and he's not going to improve that either way. His caps are pretty restrictive, and his athleticism is maxed out at 78 speed. So don't really expect him to see a whole lot. Greg Woods is a right outside linebacker. He has pretty good power moves and finesse moves, so he's a good blitzer. I might have to move him to edge rusher actually, but we do have a couple good edge rushers, so don't really see the point. Has okay coverage and a good run stopping ability as well, so he's gonna be a solid linebacker, I'm guessing, but we'll probably not see a lot of him. He didn't do a whole lot last year either, and he didn't go up in overall this training. So nothing to expect there. Walter Lennon is the best linebacker I've recruited. He's going to be redshirted, and he has also not the greatest athleticism. So nothing special there at linebacker. Sergio Gonzalez is the best corner we have, and he did go up by a bunch. He has now 91 man coverage, 83 press. Not the greatest ball hawk, but he also has 87 zone coverage. So that kid's gonna be really good. And 95 speed as well. So we have number one lockdown corner. And then our leader for interceptions, Nick Candelaria, 5'11", 184. As a junior, he will be our number 2 corner with 77 man coverage, 80 catching, which is really good. 82 zone coverage. I'm pretty happy about him. And he's also a solid athlete. So I think our corners are fine. But for some reason, I completely forgot to recruit any corners. Or, not forgot. I know I had a few of them on the board, but they were all getting recruited. And then I think I forgot to put some new ones on the board and instead put on an extra lineman and an extra linebacker and an extra receiver and stuff, extra quarterback. So I think that's where all the corner slots on the recruiting board went, so that's not great news. Our third corner here is DB Steele, nothing special, and the fourth one is Jason Miller, also nothing special, but we might have a problem next year with the cornerback situation. We'll see. Maybe I can recruit a 4-star or something to make up, but yeah, we might have a problem with corners next year. We'll see. Sergio Gonzalez and Nick Candelaria for now, though, are a pretty good corner duo. And then we have a sophomore safety in Terrence Diaz, a 3-star player out of Everett, Washington, who is pretty good from an IQ point. He's a pretty cerebral player. He has not the greatest coverage ratings you'll ever see. 78 zone and 69 man. He didn't catch a bunch of picks last year, and that's why, because he's not in position. And his hands are also not great. 87 speed, also not great. We'll see. He still has some room to improve. And now our 4-star safety recruit. He's going to be redshirted as well, even though he's a 76 right off the bat. He has almost no cap restrictions, and the few cap restrictions he has are on stuff that I don't care about. His pass coverage is pretty average, and his hands are okay. His run support is mediocre. And the cap restrictions are on power and quickness. So he's not going to get faster than 89 speed. So what? I don't care. As long as his pass coverage improves, I do not really care. Daniel Madrid is our strong safety to play this year. He's also pretty cerebral. He is definitely a lot better in coverage, and that's also why he caught, I think, 1 or 2 interceptions last year. was pretty solid. His hands are okay, and he can still get a little bit faster. 86 speed, 89 acceleration is not fast though. And then our best strong safety here is Nate Manu Maleuna out of Hawaii. He has actually pretty restrictive caps, I'd say. Well, I mean, it's not bad, but it's also not great. And he needs to work on coverage, definitely, a lot. And he's also not the fastest, but he can improve a little bit. So we'll see about that. And then our kicker next year is going to be Thomas Goodrow, 94 kick accuracy and I think 93 kick power. So that's pretty good, but we'll not have him there after next season, I think. So he's going to be gone. And then our freshman kicker is 61 overall, 2-star player out of Honolulu, Hawaii. He has 75 kick accuracy and 64 kick power. I don't think that kid will play at all. 64 kick power is absolutely awful. So that's not great news. At least he can throw a little bit better or something, but like, not gonna. I don't think he's ever gonna see the field. Clement Brown is our punter. He was the Mountain West Conference freshman All-American punter. He has 94 kick power, 78 kick accuracy. He actually can throw the ball a little bit, which is kind of unbelievable to me. Might break out a epic punt here or there. And then our freshman punter, redshirted, he looks really good. 93 kick power right off the bat. Won't improve, but that's already enough. And then his accuracy needs to get a little bit better, but 68 can improve. And there is also a lot of room to improve his throwing ratings for some reason. And then to end this episode, we're gonna look at the schedule. I want to play a Pac-12 team every year until we play in the Pac-12. Last year that was Washington. This year it's going to be Oregon State to open up the season in week 2. And we're gonna play at their place, just like we played at Washington last year. So that's gonna be the first game. Probably gonna be a little bit easier this year. Washington is one of the top teams and Oregon State is not. And then we're gonna have one of the easier games. We're gonna play Eastern Michigan at the Surfers Paradise Stadium. And we will play in conference after that. I also adjusted, by the way, the rules. Everybody in the Mountain West Conference and the Pac-12 has to play 9 conference games. So we're gonna play BYU, Wyoming, and Utah State from the north, and then all the opponents from the South Division. We also play Baylor. Our third out-of-conference game in the middle of the schedule is also going to be a home game. Don't really expect that to win that one, but we'll try. MWC South play will start in week 9 with New Mexico State, then the University of Nevada at Las Vegas, then San Jose State, then San Diego State, and then New Mexico and Hawaii. So we're going to play both games at New Mexico. New Mexico State and New Mexico is going to be both of them away games. And yeah, that's the schedule. I'm really excited about this. I'm also excited about the revamped conferences. This is going to be a lot of fun. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more Surfers Dynasty. See you in the next episode. Until then, have a great day.